Hello, welcome to Lakeshore Explorer. I'm going to take these off because it's weird with the echo. My name is George. I am your host of Lakeshore Explorer, and this is a podcast about local businesses and musicians. We're going to start off with musicians. This is the first episode, and we're going to end up probably branching out into local businesses and things like that. With me today is James Gedda.
Hey, what's up, man?
You can talk to the people out here.
Yeah, hi.
And so today we're just going to interview James and hear about his career. He has an album coming out, I heard.
Yeah.
EP.
EP.
Okay.
Oversell it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Hollering in a Bar. It's just a collection of original tunes, some of which I don't play out as much as I did when I wrote them. At this point, parts of it almost feel like a time capsule. Songs can feel like that anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are songs I recorded actually right here in Valparaiso a couple of years ago with Rick Napoli or Nick Rapley of Dr. Richard's Audio Remedies. And yeah, they turned out great. But it's just releasing music has long given me a lot of anxiety because it's like, especially at the stage of career where I'm at, where it's like, you want everything to do something for you. Like putting music out that feels like nobody's listening to is kind of a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And I see my streaming numbers. I know how few of you listen. And I appreciate those that do. But yeah, I was just sitting on them for a couple of years on top of waiting on to see how a few other projects panned out. And I just had the realization like maybe a month and a half ago or something like that. I was like, well, with the way things are going with other stuff I got in the oven, it's like I either put these out like soon or never. Right. And they're good songs and they're good recordings of it and just good live takes in a nice wood room. So I was like, these need to be out there. So I decided to put
definitely.
And it's going to be out on Friday.
For those of you that don't know, me and James are approaching 35 here. We've known each other. We were just talking about this before the podcast started. We've known each other for almost 30 years.
Yeah. Approaching 30 years because we met at a hub pool taking swimming lessons, I believe.
Yep.
We were just little guys.
Yeah. I don't know how old.
Then Cub Scout meetings at your house with your mom as the den leader.
Yep.
We've been friends for a while. He ain't sick of me yet.
Yeah.
In recent years, we've realized we can help each other out business wise as well. And it's like, I mean, I know on my end, being a musician, sometimes you only interact with your friends when you're working together.
Yeah. Honestly, that's how I am these days. Like I almost don't have friends outside of work. So
I think that's part of the where your passion becomes your hustle, becomes your job kind of thing, which we live in, where it's like, just everything's connected to business.
Yeah.
There's people I love dearly that I almost never see unless somebody's getting paid in the matter.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, but it's interesting to realize that. I forget who it was. It was a mutual friend of ours, Jack Whittle, somewhere with his band. His trio, and his drummer says to his bass player, says to his drummer, is like, we're not really friends. We just work together. And it really bummed the drummer.
That's harsh, honestly. But if you guys didn't know, I am live switching this down below. You might be able to see in the wide shot that I got this. So if sometimes I space out, it's because I'm just getting used to the setup.
Yeah. George's a man that wears many hats.
Yeah. But
not just going to try out a podcast, going to try a live podcast.
Yeah.
Actually try an audio live podcast, going to try a video live podcast with camera switching.
Multicam. We got multiple microphones. I got an extra mic for when Jim is going to play later.
That's how long he's known me. He calls me Jim.
Yeah. James to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But I told my mom today, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be filming with James. Yeah. And she's like, who's James? Yeah. I was like, James Gedda. And she's like, oh, you mean Jimmy? Yeah. She knows he has Jimmy. So
of course, I mean, it's kind of a rebranding. I suppose I did a few years ago, where it's like, I started a new job where people called me James. I started dating someone who preferred to call me James. I was like, well, James sounds better, a little more show busy than
yeah.
Jim Gedda is my dad. He works at ABF. He's a nice fellow.
Yeah. Exactly. James is more professional sounding. But so tell me, let's dive a little bit into your career. When did you start with music? Like, what kind of got you into it?
it's hard to say when it started as like a career versus just like something I did. I started playing my senior year of high school, like back into my senior year, and learned about, more about writing songs and performing, and learned how to work this thing through college. And then, it just felt like for years, just did open mics here and there, I was a mainstay at Front Porch Music here in Valpo for a long time. Love that place still. They do a lot of good work for a lot of folks. But I didn't start really seriously gigging until I started making friends with Jack Whittle, because I saw he was back up in the area, and he was starting to make waves, and some of the people I knew who posted about music and all that. I just sent him a message like, "Hey, you want to start working together?" Because I didn't know how to book a show.
Oh yeah,
do anything. I was like, "Well, let's do, let's just share a bill or whatever." And he was more into becoming like a sideman, instead of just doing his own stuff all the time. And became a good business relationship, a good friendship. And he pointed me in the direction like, okay, well, if you want to, if you want to start playing, if you want to figure out how to start playing around here, you need to meet these two guys. You need to meet Nick Kazonis and Scott Larson, because they help out a lot of guys. They host jams, they host open mics and this and that.
And
to those.
And Nick, you and I know Nick from high school.
Yep. Yeah.
We were in band with him.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah, Nick Kazonis, Region Buzz. They do a lot of great work for a lot of folks. I was just on their podcast over the summer, actually.
Oh, nice.
He produced my first EP.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So Nick helped me out a ton. And then, it's like, oh, go out to these jams. Like when the Finnegan's Jam, which is still going on every Tuesday, now hosted by Jack and Mark, but used to be hosted by Fresh Hops. Like, here's where you learn how to, that's where start picking up how to play with the rhythm section.
Right.
Still struggle with Mark Adrian or Kevin Martirosen might tell you. but you just pick up the pieces here and there. And then that became, figuring out how to book gigs and, how to get a little bit better at it. And then it's just, there's so many pieces to it, right? Like make social media, like promoting yourself, and then recording, and, like just all the different sides to it. Like getting up on stage and playing is like maybe 30% of the job.
Oh, okay.
It's like there's everything else. There's
how is that? Like the first time you get up on stage, do you recall that?
No, not really. It was like, for one, it probably wasn't a stage. It was probably like a corner of a restaurant or something. I remember when my first like proper paid gig was. I do remember for a few years, the only time I was paid to play was I would play at this nursing home in the cafeteria once a month, because I love the old country stuff, and just, no mic, no nothing. I just holler for an hour, things you can do when you're younger. Like, I can't do that no more. I blow my voice out. I already blow my voice out. Anybody who hears me play will tell you. But yeah, I think the first time I remember being like nervous was like, we went to college together at Ball State, and I played at the talent show there one year, and that was when there was like 1,800 people in the auditorium, and someone was like, okay, this is pressure, even that was a lifetime ago. That was a different thing, right? Because you get one song and then you're being judged and all that. Like with gigs, I don't get too nervous by and large, just because it's like, it's kind of low stakes. It's work, right? There's another gig tomorrow. There's more gigs next weekend, right?
Yeah.
If it's kind of a higher pressure thing, or like a nicer place or a new place, I'll get a little nervous. Or if it's like, full band shows used to make me nervous, because it felt like, oh, if I screw this up, I'm letting my friends down, they like, if I screw up, we all sound bad, kind of thing. But that's taken to almost switch in recent years, where it's like the solo shows are what feels the most like work, because it's like, if it's a dead night or if it's a slow night or if people aren't really listening that much, it's me versus, it's like versus the room.
Right. You got nothing
up there with
nothing to fall back on.
Up there with my band. It's like, okay, well, we're at least having fun. I know I'm enjoying myself. And so then the bands become a thing to like take comfort in, like just getting paid to play music with your friends, which is like, I'll say, I put it this way a lot, where it's on the best night of playing music for a living, or even on some of the mediocre nights, you feel like you got something figured out other people don't know about, right? Because you slept in that day, probably. You're working 3-4 hours tops, like in terms of the actual physical work. You're out at a bar, you're playing music with your friends, you're locked in, you're probably drinking for free, you're making some money, you know, and then in between sets, somebody tells you how good you sound. Like, like it makes you feel like you're getting away with something. Like, why the hell would anybody work for a living?
Right? Yeah, right. Hey, that's how I feel when I do my video business. Honestly, I love what I do. So
you're legit.
Yeah,
you for a bit, just corporate Chicago.
Yeah. It's like when I'm working is like honestly when I'm happiest.
Yeah.
Like when I'm out on a gig, it's like I have to be thinking and like problem solving nonstop. That's what I love about like video and stuff, is just like being on your toes all the time.
Yeah.
That's why I do events and weddings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I record you guys.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're like, okay, I can afford to lose a little bit.
yeah, exactly. But
slum it up with the musicians because they have fun.
Yeah, but honestly, I do love recording music. Some of that stuff we were doing during the pandemic was like really fun, and just having the time to actually be able to like dedicate to it. Because like now I feel like it just feels like work to do like any extra besides what I'm getting paid to do. It's like I'm already so busy with like my regular client work that to do outside stuff is like, it just is draining.
Totally. Yeah.
But I do kind of miss filming with you guys. That's why I wanted to start this podcast, to kind of like get back to the sort of musician area.
Come from your home, right? Where you're not going out.
Right. Exactly. Because this is always set up so I don't have to worry about you know, it feeling like work.
Oh, shoot, that was so much fun. The only time I like that.
Yeah.
My Old Reliable from my previous EP came out in 2020, I believe. The Bad Things Happen EP. We shot a music video for my song Old Reliable, and that was a fun thing.
That was cool because we sat down and actually like figured out shot for shot like what shot is going to be at each verse.
Yeah.
And then
or each line.
Yeah.
And okay, and we'll cut to the B-roll here. And I've been slowly plotting that out for a song I want to do a music video for an upcoming project, not the one coming out Friday, but something further along, which I'll talk to you about. But I've been doing the same thing where it's like, okay, what shots, right? What do we want to have for each line of the song? And that was a fun project because then when it came to shooting day, we just had a laundry list of stuff to get. Yeah. And we filmed, we're not going to be able to film in my parents' basement anymore because they sold the house. Yeah. So we'll have to figure out another place to film. But that actually did turn out pretty well because it kind of looked like like an actual bar because I had that bar in, they had that bar on the basement. So we didn't have to film all the bar stuff. That was actually major because it's so hard to like schedule around like, because they have to be in business, so they can't just shut the place down for us. No, and not. So it's like we're at like maybe certain other tier 2 items, right? Just hey, shut the bar down for like an hour. And we get I sure as hell can't.
So it worked out well having a bar in my parents' basement, and then we did film at Finnegan's a little bit. And
Night I was doing a show. That's where we got some of the like the B-roll and the performance shots.
Yeah, and that turned out pretty good.
That's that was a nice piece of business. Yeah,
even that drunk girl who was smelling your outfit.
The thumbnail of the video still, which is like I get it.
And I honestly don't know who she was. I never got any contact info or anything.
I think when I posted that to Facebook that day and the video went up, someone commented, I think it might have been Jeremy the Cowboy, who's a character in and of himself, where he says, "Oh, that's what's your name?"
Yeah, for sure.
The music video was a lot of fun. It turned out good too. That's y'all should look at that.
Yeah, definitely. That I still watch that one sometimes. I really like that. One thing I wanted to ask: how many albums do you have now?
So this will be the third EP. Still working on a proper full album. That's more news to come on that at some point in the next year. But I had my first EP, Thick as Thieves, which I did at Region Buzz.
And Art did the artwork for that.
The cover for it.
Another buddy of ours.
Another old friend. I kind of look like I'm in King of the Hill. I still like that one because it's the thinnest I've ever looked. But that was Thick as Thieves. That was 2019, I believe. In 2020, I put out Bad Things Happen with my friend Neil Zelinga, who just invited me in to do some recording one day and just live acoustic tracks. And
Oh, nice.
Put that out, and that was good. And that was the one, Old Reliable was the single for that, and that's the one we did the video for.
Right.
And then for a bit, just nothing happened. I don't know. Like I was planning on like, oh, I don't know what I want to do next. Maybe something with the band. Like, how do you do that? How do you schedule that? You know, so being real wishy-washy on top of what I was talking about earlier with releasing music giving me anxiety. But then it's funny how many of my recording projects come about by just someone wanting to work with me and like not charge me because then I was talking to a college buddy of mine, Blake Moeller, who lives down in Nashville, and with Mid-American Recordings, and he was like, "Hey man, next time you come down to Nashville, let's come down and work on some tracks." So that's what. So then we put out a couple singles that I worked on with him that are more like full instrumentation, real cool, kind of more slick production. That was Nowhere on a Somewhere Road, and then One of My Worth to You, and I put Nowhere on a Somewhere Road came out last fall, and One of My Worth to You came out back in like February of this year, I think. But those were just singles, Yeah. And then, now there's this, the project coming out Friday, Hollering in a Bar. The single came out a couple weeks ago on the 10th. And the full EP, 6 songs, comes out on Friday.
Oh,
and,
cool.
Yeah. Looking forward to folks hearing those. So, there's some songs that don't always see the light of day just because I'm always writing. I'm always learning new stuff. And just inevitably, I tend not to work off a set list. Stuff just gets shuffled to the back of my head. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to get into. Like, how do you go about writing music? And I don't mean just like the whatever chords or how you're going to play the guitar. I mean like the words and all that stuff. How does that come to you?
I've always been a words driven person. I was like in high school, I liked doing like poetry club and stuff like that. And then, in college, I ended up getting a creative writing degree, which is why I still live with my parents at 30.
Right.
But I've always enjoyed the written word and telling stories and things like that. And then just, picked up guitar and, learned kind of how to play it, still kind of know how to play it. But it's just, one lent itself to the other. And I think just day to day or, when I go to write a song, it's not always even that I got something to say, really. It's, I'll think of like a type of song I want to write or they're like a mood I want to feel like, okay, I like doing songs like this. And, when I'm with the band, we like to do these types of songs. I might as well play my own instead of a cover.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how some of them come about. Others, it's just, I get so many of my song ideas while driving. And, like I'll think of a couple lines just because that's when you have time by yourself, long stretches of nothing, and your brain gets to working.
I think that's where a lot of people tend to sing. Even if they're not writing songs, a lot of people sing in the car, even if they're not singers.
Then that becomes like, all right, we're quick turn on the voice memo thing on my phone on the dash and get that down. And maybe it gets finished. It probably doesn't. Like the amount of songs that exist just as like a couplet in my notes that never get fleshed out. There's too many. But something will just grab onto me and, flesh it out that way. And it definitely used to be, I had to like really feel it. And I still do, it's like if I get my hands on a good sad song or like a good, good idea, I can put myself in that headspace. But it used to be like I had to be going through some stuff to write a song. I feel like that's how a lot of it starts. Because no one wants to write a song when they're happy.
Right.
You're happy, intent. You don't want to jinx it. You don't want to, you don't feel the need to express. At least that's the way it works for me. When I'm happy, I don't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
Because God forbid something happens that ruins it.
Yeah. When I get too happy, I almost don't even want to let myself know because I don't want to jinx it.
Versus like for me, when I get upset or frustrated or whatever, that's when you want to stand on the roof and yell at the whole world and have them listen to you. That's where the songs come from, at least a lot of them. It takes more work to write like a love song or a different kind of story, where it's easy to write heartbreak stuff to the point where, sometimes got turned away from the skid, go against the natural momentum of where something wants to go. Is like, I don't need another one of these.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only so many heartbreak songs that people can tolerate. Right. So at some point you need like some feel good songs.
Yeah. I manage a a playlist on Spotify that I add to every now and then called Sad Bastard Songs.
Oh, nice.
Actually, that's what I've taken to calling the type of songs that I really like. You know, I get my handle on a good sad song and it makes my day.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's, you know, between shows or albums or whatever, they need the balance, right? You need the good time songs and the bad time songs.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah.
When you just bringing that up about shows, how many shows do you do? Like how often do you play shows, I should ask?
Usually it depends on the month. But generally 2 a weekend, maybe 3 on a good weekend.
Okay.
Depending on how well I'm doing as a booker 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Just how the rhythm goes, right? It's like, you know, if someone responds, if I send out a booking email tomorrow and someone gets back to me, the show is not for next week, right? It's for, at this point, January or February,
right?
Probably.
Right.
So it's like, you got to keep the momentum going. So even when you're busy, right? Like I get real busy over the summer. It's like, well, still got to stay in the booking grind. Otherwise, fall, James, ain't going to have much money coming in.
Yeah, no,
right?
I feel you on that, because that's exactly, that's the same thing with my business. Jobs. Like when I'm super busy, and like, I don't know if anybody noticed, but on my Lakeshore video page and really all my social medias, I haven't been posting because I've been so busy. And that ends up hurting me later on because the posts are kind of what like drums up new business. Right. And so it's like, I kind of have to schedule in some time to make a post to be able to like get those inquiries. And when it comes to like posts these days, I've noticed, at least for me, I don't know if this is like that for you, but for me, I actually need to like really dive deep into the sort of SEO side of things. So when I'm doing a post on social media, I'm digging up all of the hashtags and stuff, and not really just hashtags, but like keywords, because I don't know if the bots really care about hashtags that much anymore. It's more,
I don't think so.
It's more like they just want to see like a lot of keywords, and that's why, you know, like Twitter is it is and always has been really more about having keywords in there so the bots can read it. I don't think a lot of people are actually sitting there reading all these Twitter posts. It's all about the bots. And that's why I started doing a blog post on my website. So I noticed as soon as I started doing a blogging, including a lot of keywords, I got tons of traffic on my website just from that alone. Yeah. And so like when I'm doing any kind of post, I first post it on a blog, and then I share that blog to Twitter and to LinkedIn. And I really should get on Threads, but I haven't gotten on it yet.
Instagram's Twitter.
Yeah. And so again, that's another one that I think really is just for the bots. And I haven't personally gotten on there yet just because I haven't had time, but I'm going to get there eventually once things slow down. Things always slow down in the winter.
Yeah. For me, it's like if I don't get my requisite social media posting for like my gigs for the week, or it's something I got coming up, done in like the first hour I'm awake while I'm sitting at my desk with a cup of coffee, like it's not getting done that day. Yeah. Right. It only takes a few minutes, you know, but posting it everywhere. And like, if you got to upload a video, that takes longer, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, at this point, that's, you know, 45 minutes of my day. Yeah. Honestly, it takes me sometimes like 4 hours to make one post, just because that Meta business suite thing for Facebook and Instagram never wants to work right. No, you try and like make a post, and if your pictures aren't all the same size, they won't work on Instagram. Yeah. So you have to like resize everything specifically. Better off just doing it independently, but you can't upload to Instagram from a browser, at least not that I know of. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a headache. We're getting in the weeds here. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a frustrating part. Like, yeah. On the average day, I probably spend more time worrying about social media nonsense versus actually playing music. Yeah. Especially when I got something coming out. Like, I'm also of the mind, like, I don't want to bug people. Yeah. And like, that's what you have to do in this, right? Like, no one's going to hear my music if they don't. Like, so someone won't go from like not knowing I exist to becoming a fan of my music without me bugging somebody in some fashion. Maybe somebody who's already familiar with, like, yeah, I know you got an EP coming out. Stop posting about it. I was like, well, I can't. Like, that person probably doesn't exist, but that's what my anxieties say. Right? It's like, it's like, hey, don't be obnoxious. You know, like, I'm a salesman of sorts. Right?
I mean, it's a business.
Yeah.
You got to sell yourself.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it seems like everywhere in the economy. Everyone's kind of like running their own little business, whether it's full time or part time or
the side hustle.
the side hustle. So you got to do it.
Right. Yeah. During the summer and sometimes the fall, I ended up doing a lot of like craft fairs and like vendor markets and things like that. And yeah, it's like you definitely see the people who's like, okay, well, these are people like they run a bakery and that seems to be their full-time thing. Whereas like, okay, this person, like, yeah, I'll talk to people. It's like, oh, they do like hand wood print signs or whatever, but also they have a salary job during the week. And it's like, like if you're salary and still need a side hustle.
I know that's the way it's going these days, you know, but, all we can do is just keep on keeping on. But it sounds like you've been staying pretty busy, so that's good.
And like even this, my busiest November I've ever had. I've had 11 gigs this November, which is unheard of. This is usually when things start slowing down. Things are going to slow down in December. I got a couple irons in the fire that might pan out. We'll see. But yeah, it's been good to be busy.
Yeah,
just because. I mean, at the end of the day, right? When the first of the month comes around, I got to make that car payment.
Yeah. I'm just glad to be busy. After the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to take anything I can get and just keep. I've been busy, super busy for the last 2 years, and I pretty much work like 7 days a week. But I don't mind because you know it's like better than the alternative.
Totally. Yeah. Coming out of the pandemic, definitely. I had a residency at a bar for a while in Chicago where I was playing there 3 nights a week. And that was good because it was good, steady work. But then after that deal dissipated, then I was more eager because I was playing at the same place every week. And I was making the same drive, seeing a lot of the same folks, people I really appreciate would come out. But that then instilled the urge of me like, no, I gotta get out there. You know, I want to get further out and about. And so, I've been trying to travel further. And part of that is networking, with other musicians. Because like, what are the benefits of social media, especially like the more I started getting active on Twitter, I won't call it X. Is I realized there are the independent Americana, alt country musicians all over the country at the level I'm at, or maybe slightly above, and it's like, they're also looking to travel more. Right.
Yeah.
And, it's, and then that becomes like well, okay, I can probably hook you up with something in Chicago, when you're coming around here. I want to get out there, we figure that out. So it becomes like I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing. Yeah.
And I know every now and then, it seems like every time I talk to you, you're like, oh yeah, I'm on my way to Nashville, or I just got back from Nashville. Yeah. Do you go down there quite a bit? Or?
I was for a bit. I was going to Nashville maybe every few months just to try and like get to a writer's night there. And then also I got family in that neck of the woods, so I'll visit with them. That slowed down a bit. I do want to get to Nashville more because I've since made more friends down there. But it's just like Nashville can be exhausting in its own way, where it's like, I'm not just going to get into that scene going down there every 6 months and playing a couple writers' nights.
Right. Yeah.
That's not the way it seems. Not that I'm giving up on that side of things, but it's just, it's not about, especially for the kind of music I make, it's not just about Nashville, right?
Yeah.
It's like, there's so much great music there. My friend Will Payne Harrison just put out a great album. He's based in Nashville. But yeah, I want to get to Texas more. I want to get to Florida. Never played in Florida. I want to get out to Colorado. Never been out to the West Coast. Would love to do that. And it's, and you see people who aren't like, household names that do that,
Have you played in Texas?
Yes, actually.
I've never actually been to Texas before.
Yeah. I played there a brief, like 30-minute set, actually back in April. My friend Matt Moran from Oklahoma, who's one of the first people I connected with, networking on social media. He put together a festival, him and a few other folks put a festival in, Fort Worth called Sad by Southwest.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good name.
It was a rough day of travel to get down to Texas. I had a gig the day before, I'm pretty sure. Wow. So then I flew down to Texas. Otherwise I would have driven, just save money and not deal with airports. But then like had trouble getting an Uber away from the airport and this and that. So I showed up like 5 minutes before I was supposed to play.
Oh man.
Got up and shared a 40-minute set with another talented fella, Seth Jones, who's from that area, and just song swapping back and forth, and it was great. It was a good time. I probably only played like 4 or 5 songs, but it was good to network and meet more folks. There were so many good folks on that bill. And yeah, I've always wanted to play Texas because it's always been, especially these days, and for the past decade or more, there's been a lot of good independent country music or like different sounds of country coming out of Texas versus Tennessee or or past few years another like Appalachia's been booming. Like I feel every couple of years somebody else comes out of Kentucky. But there's definitely the different hotbeds. But Texas is a cool place. And
What's your favorite venue
that I played?
Yeah.
That's hard to say. I've played some cool places, and just in terms of like comfort level and fondness, like probably the stage at Finnegan's or
Oh really?
or the basement room at Front Porch Music here.
Oh wow. Out of all the places, that's your favorite?
Like in terms of things, like, those are 2 places still I could get on and just feel like
you're at home.
Basically at home.
Yeah.
I played an open mic at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville once, and that was really cool because anybody has played there in one form or another. But it's hard to say. Like there are venues I would like to play, but it's like you don't want to get your hopes up too high in terms of stuff like that.
Do you have like a favorite city as far as like the vibe of the crowd, how the people react to your music and stuff like that?
It's hard to say. I feel like I haven't been too many places further out enough to like get an average.
Yeah.
Right. But like I will say the crowd at the Sad by Southwest Festival was a great crowd. And like, I only played, like 4 or 5 songs, but they all hit really good. It feels like in general, when I've been down towards the Southwest, that crowd's been pretty receptive there, but also sometimes it just surprises you. One of my favorite gigs I played recently was, at, I'm going to forget the name of the place, but place names all run together in my
I know how it goes.
Yeah. A brewery up towards Michigan. I don't remember if it's actually over the border or not. Oh, it's going to bother me. Like,
hey, somebody in the chat, let us know.
But there was only like, 6, 7 people in the room. Oh, well, outside, it was an outside gig, but for most of my time there, I played for 3 hours, but the people that stuck around were super into it, and like they're making like deep cut requests of like Guy Clark songs and things like that. And they're digging my originals. And I hung around for another hour, just drinking beer and talking with them afterwards. Like, this is a good night at the office.
Yeah, for sure. Outside of your originals, like what's kind of your favorite stuff to play? Like covers.
It probably hovers somewhere between John Prine, Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, depending on how witty I'm feeling that day.
Yeah.
But those are probably 3 of my favorite acts to cover. Like if I'm playing a full 3-hour night at a bar somewhere, they're probably all 3 getting played and probably multiple songs from each of them. But yeah, those are probably some of my favorite stuff to pull from. But then if I'm playing with the band, that's solo. But if I'm playing with the band, I love to do like Buck Owens and Waylon Jennings and stuff that's more based on like good grooves, Yeah. Versus just straight up like acoustic storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look. The pupper's here. That's Andy.
Been relatively well behaved.
Yeah. He was barking a little bit earlier. I don't know if anybody heard that, but this is Andy. He's a Yorkie. He's about 1.5 years old. And I wanted to have him on the podcast. I was wondering when he was going to show up. But yeah, what were we just talking about? Andy interrupted me.
I'm talking about covering stuff.
Yeah. Do you get like a lot of like requests when you're playing bars and stuff? Do people come up and request?
Oh, yeah.
Do they put money in the tip jar when they request?
Sometimes. Yeah. So I play at this place in Chicago at least once a month, usually twice, called Irish Eyes, and it's in Lincoln Park. It's actually right next to the bar I used to play at in Chicago.
Nice.
But it's a cool place. They always take care of me there. and the tips are always good. But the crowd is like, young 20-somethings, like seemingly just out of college or something like that. And you get the sense some of these people just don't necessarily get how live music works.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe if they do see live music, it's a lot of like cover acts
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And it's like, I do covers, right? But I do like a curated list of covers versus like, oh yeah, I'll get everything, man. I forget what it was. It was maybe a month ago I was there. And this girl comes up to the front of the stage and like puts a couple bucks in a jar. And she sits waiting patiently for me to finish the song. I'm like, oh no, there's no way she's going to ask if I can play anything I actually know how to play or want to play. And sure enough, God bless her. She the most sincere look on her face. Like, I get obnoxious requests all the time, and it's easy to ignore those people.
Yeah.
But it's just, you surely know some Taylor Swift, right?
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. You can take your money back. It's okay. And it's letting the nice ones down disappoints me. But
Yeah.
I get all sorts of stuff. And I think one of the funnier ones is someone was like, "Oh, your voice is perfect for Alice in Chains, man."
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a little bit of a
something like
stretch
it, right? Like playing the kind of music I play, I probably should know at least one Zach Bryan song. I just haven't bothered to learn. Sometimes it did in that place in particular, but in general, if I'm playing bars, it can be pretty all over the place.
Yeah.
Especially, and it does seem to especially be in regards to like the younger crowds, like in their 20s or something, who, I'm granted, if you're in your 20s now, a good chunk of that was, in the pandemic, like for all of us, right? So there was no live music then.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes then you also get people who think like, well, I tipped you, you owe me a song.
Yeah.
This isn't that transactional.
Right.
What's thought about putting up a menu for certain places where it's like,
Oh, that's a good idea.
okay, if you want to hear Tennessee whiskey, it's $50.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wagon wheel, it's $30.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
List the obvious ones. Johnny Cash, I'll do it, but it's $10, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. What's like the hardest cover for you that you will do at a bar that maybe reluctantly or
it's probably Tennessee whiskey, just because like I can't sing like Chris Stapleton. I'm not poo-pooing my singing, but I'm not the most disciplined singer, right? I don't have that kind of vocal dexterity to do those fancy runs in there.
Mhm.
And between that and like how behind the beat he sings in that song,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the more soulful 6/8 feeling, like, and Jack Whittle will especially tell you anytime we've tried to play that one together like that, I don't do it much because I just completely lose meter somewhere in there. People don't seem to mind generally, but I know it's like, oh, I'm fucking this song into the dirt, man.
Yeah, for sure.
A move I'll do sometimes for that one,
Yeah.
because that song has an interesting history, is before Chris Stapleton put out that version of the song, there was it was a George Jones song. It was a Johnny Paycheck song. A bunch of people had done it, and to a completely different melody.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and what Chris Stapleton did was he took the lyrics to an old country song and he put it to the melody of an old rhythm and blues song, I'd Rather Be Blind. And it turned out great, but whatever, like his version of that song is great. What I'll do is this, and it fits with my kind of, I can be a bit of a hipster in regards to the music I play. As like, well, before Chris Stapleton took the words of an old country song, put to the melody of an old R&B song, here's how Tennessee whiskey used to sing. I'll do.
Oh, nice.
I'll play the original one, which isn't as showy, but I can sing it.
Yeah.
And, this melody was good enough for George Jones. It was good enough for me, by God.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Like, that's my excuse because I can't sing like Chris Stapleton. And if I could, I'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's one of those, a lot of people try and cover that, especially, jam nights and bars.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know I can't sing it, so I try not to, versus you get some folks who think they can sing it.
Yeah. I've heard a few good covers.
There are good ones out there for sure.
Trying to think of who's done a good one.
Yeah, my friend Sarah sings that one really well. Sarah Barrientos, she hangs around the jam nights and stuff. But not trying to talk mess on anybody, but that's a hard song. Like, I don't like it's I don't like putting myself through it, but for the right amount of tip money or whatever, I'll do it.
Yeah. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I've heard Lauren Dukes do a pretty good cover.
Oh yeah, Lauren Dukes.
Yeah,
perfectly equipped to sing that song.
yeah, over at Northwoods, she did it there, and it was pretty good. I liked it. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I love working with her because she's so talented.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Just, also super nice. You know.
Yeah.
Or, like we've talked about doing something, like recording something together, doing something for the longest time. It just comes down to like me not making it happen.
Yeah. There's so many good musicians in Northwest Indiana. It's like
it's the funny thing.
It kind of blows my mind sometimes when I think about it. Like, just on any given night, like, well, any given weekend, I would say, you can go to like a million different bars, and there's always somebody talented.
And the jam nights are cool things too. Where I remember. When I travel, I'll tell people like, "Oh no, my local music scene's pretty good." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." They're like, "No, you'll get it." Like, there's so many talented players. It's just this little corner of Indiana up by Chicago. And this past January, my friend Matt Moran from Oklahoma came up here. We did some shows up here. Someone from the Southwest coming up to the Chicago area in January. Probably not the best idea, but he was.
Hopefully he had a jacket or something.
But we did a show at Austin Community Tavern in Stager, where I'll be next Wednesday, actually, doing an artist originals night there. But we played there. Like, well, night's young. Let me take you to this jam night. And it was when Fresh Hops was doing the jam at Beer Geeks, which then became B-Sides. Briefly, and I think it was the first one under the new branding. And and I don't know what necessarily was expecting with term jam night. Probably was a couple guys sitting around, playing dad rock together. But walk in and the place is jam packed.
Oh,
and Fresh Hops on jam nights, they kill.
Yeah,
they're good at getting other people up there with them and accentuating the positive aspects of their playing.
Right.
And he's sitting there, they're like, "Hey man, you wanna get up there? Like, you could lead a song or two, you're fine. Like, you're good too." He goes,
"I don't know, man. He got nervous on jam night.
I think a little.
Yeah.
And I got up there and I played a set. I could play. You could hit me in there with the hammer. I could play a solid set with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just did songs a second billion times. And even though he's heard me sing plenty of times, we've done several shows together. At this point, I sit back there and goes, "Damn, I don't know you had that."
Yeah. I like the stuff that you did with Stefan.
Yeah.
I always say Stefan, but it's Stefan Jude. That video that I did with you guys.
That was the Never Play the Rhymin' song.
Yeah, Never Play
EP.
Yeah, the Never Play the Rhymin'. That one is still one of my most viewed YouTube videos because
that looks so good on your back porch there.
I did that walkthrough of how to record outdoors.
Yeah.
Because it was windy, and I was like, well, basically you just use like wind muffs on stuff, and that's pretty much it. But I think there's like a lot of people who just don't know how to like cover it for the wind, and that it got like 14,000 views or something like that on YouTube. So
because you did the video, then you did the tutorial on how you did it.
The tutorial's the one that got all the views. Just because I don't know, I'm sometimes on YouTube, like somebody will put you on like a blog or something, because that's happened to me a few times where I'm like, all of a sudden a video from like a year ago just starts getting a bunch of views.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, "Hey, did you know this guy put you on his blog?" I'm like, "Oh, what?"
Right.
So that's a weird, that's why I'm saying blogs are important.
I've been
for SEO,
make more contacts and people that write about music and do things like that.
Start a blog on your website.
Maybe I ought to start a blog. Yeah.
It's mainly for the bots, honestly, to read, to push, because the more pages you have that like have certain keywords, the more Google's going to recommend it under the search terms. So that's why you have a bunch of blogs that have a bunch of keywords.
A page to my website. I don't know if I'll actually do it, so don't hold me to it. But adding a page for every song I've released, having a lyrics page up.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I might do that at some point. Don't hold your breath on that. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, it looks like we're at about the 45-minute mark. Do you want to maybe play a song for us?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I can do that.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to switch off my microphone and I'm going to listen in the headphones because I'm going to be doing the mixing for James here.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have an extra camera here too to get some close-ups and such.
Yeah, we'll do
So let me just zoom in here. That's your close-up of the strumming hand.
Okay. Don't look too close.
All right, so let me just get this here and
Live podcasting, folks.
yeah, whenever you're ready, James.
All right. Yeah, there's a song called Rosaline that's going to be on the EP coming out Friday. I figured I needed a song with a woman's name in it. I don't think Rosaline's really a real name, but it sounds nice, so. It was 11:13, I was watching the feud. You was out with your sister, celebrating good news. Then a call from the sheriff, he needed me to come out and drive a spell out to 12, 10 miles down the route. The 32-minute drive must have lasted 3 hours. Out past the stoplights, the high lines and the towers. Then I saw the sheriff, the car in the tree. He said the woman in the wreck looks like Rosaline. Rosaline, Rosaline, said ain't what it seems. Rosaline, Rosaline, let it all be a dream. Rosaline, Rosaline, they never did find your ring. Tell me, what does it mean? What does it mean, Rosaline? The tree split that car like a weathered old blade. Cuts a wrinkly tomato, leaving mess and remains, and a whole lot of blood from the seat to the rind. And when I'm left to myself, that ain't what's on my mind. You was riding shotgun and some fellow was driving. Was that guy that you worked with? You told me you despised him. You both drank some vodka and done some cocaine. And when I try to sleep, I still scream out your name. Rosaline, Rosaline, say it ain't what it seems. Rosaline, Rosaline, let it all be a dream. Rosaline, Rosaline, they never did find your ring. Tell me, what does it mean? What does it mean, Rosaline? In the mornings I still make the coffee for two, but I Irish mine up now like you used to do. People around town won't stop bothering me with their pies and their prayers and goddamn sympathy. At night the sheriff follows me home from the bar. He doesn't give me no guff, don't get out of his car. I can't drown the questions, the whys and what thens. If I was better to you, would you have been out with him? Rosaline, Rosaline, said ain't what it seems. Rosaline, Rosaline, let it all be a dream. Rosaline, Rosaline, they never did find your ring. Tell me, what does it mean? What does it mean, Rosaline? Tell me, what does it mean, Rosaline?
The pup liked it. Dog bark. You got a little bit of applause from Andy.
Yeah, there we go. I'll take it.
That was great, man. That was awesome.
I tried to write a song about a fella that had the worst day imaginable.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. And so that's going to be on the new EP coming out this week?
Yes, on Friday. Yeah, that's going to be on the new EP, a song called Rosaline. Yeah.
Very nice. And you said you got, what, 4 or 5 songs on there?
6.
6.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And so where can people find your music at?
So you can find that on all the usual suspects, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, that kind of thing. But if you do really want to support me, you can buy it on my Bandcamp, James Gedda, I think just jamesgedda.bandcamp.com, I believe. It's linked to on my social medias and stuff. I've been trying to use that more because Bandcamp does give artists a better cut. You can buy music digitally and still stream it from there. And it's just, it's a nice way to just show that a little bit of extra support. I have merch on there as well. Or on my website, I do also have a store on the website where you can buy my music digitally. Then, merch and things like that. But generally you can hear the EP anywhere you hear your music. But if you want to dive a little deeper, the Bandcamp's a good bet for kicking me a few extra bucks.
Nice. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. If you guys want to see James, I'm going to put links in the comments for where you can see his other work and where you can buy the new album. And as far as this particular podcast goes, we're just going to be live streaming this maybe once a week, maybe less, depending on my workload. But we're just going to live stream it on Facebook and then obviously put clips on social media. But that's Lakeshore Explorer. If you're watching James's Facebook right now, Lakeshore Explorer is where I will be posting everything. Is there anybody else you wanted to shout out or anything like that?
It was good to sit down and talk with you. It's been a minute since we worked together. Nothing else coming to mind. I am at tomorrow. If you're wondering how to bring in your Thanksgiving, I'll be at Smoky Joe's in Crete with my band, The Big Breakfast, and we'll be playing from 7:30 to 11 p.m. or so. So if you're looking to do Blackout Wednesday ride, just come out to Smoky Joe's.
Nice.
Yeah, but thanks for having me, George. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Always a good time.
Yeah.
Everybody at home, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.